Hello everyone. So in the last session we covered these topics where lower. This is all the keywords we covered in detail. And we were looking into order by case, right? And order by case we covered multiple scenarios and I think I gave you one or two questions. Yeah. So did you guys get time to try on these questions? So what is the first question tells is sort the third position record in ascending or descending order. So what we were trying to do it, this was our query. So see, if you'll see in the, so this is my query and I was telling and what, okay, yeah. So this is bucket one and this is bucket two. And then the third record, which doesn't belongs to, sorry, okay. No, this is not that example. The third example was, okay, what is that? Yeah. When address is equal to Kolkata, then keep it in first bucket, and when address is equal to Hyderabad, then keep it in second bucket. Okay, and then the third condition applies. So for addresses apart from Kolkata, Hyderabad, whatever addresses are there, so for those student details, the third condition applies. So let's say we have a bucket one, we have bucket one. Similarly, we have bucket two. Similarly, we have bucket three. So what are we saying over here is the records matching with this Kolkata will come in bucket one, and the records matching with bucket address Hyderabad will come in bucket two, and all the other records will come in bucket three. Fine. So my question was sort the third position record in ascending or descending order. So I was telling whatever records in the third position means which is part of bucket three, sort it in ascending or descending order. So let's see from the query. So what I was telling, so all these records apart from Hyderabad, the records which are part of third bucket, Mumbai, Bangalore. So sort these records in ascending or descending order. So if you are specifically talking about these particular records, so this is not possible. Why? Because when you apply the order by case statement, then if you're not writing anything after end, so by default it is ascending. I think I already covered this when I was explaining the order by, yeah, the simple order by keyword. So there I explained that after the column name, if you're not specifying anything, it means it is ascending by default. So similarly, this is the syntax for order by case, and after the end, like this is the place where the order by case syntax ends. And if you're not giving any value after end, so by default it takes ascending, and all the values are sorted in ascending order. Now you can ask a question. Okay, I can't see the value in ascending order. You can say that, right? You have that option to say it. Okay, of course, you can ask that question as well. Okay, if you have any questions till now, you can ask questions. I want the class to be interactive. So if you ask multiple questions, we'll clear more and more scenarios, or else whatever scenarios I have planned to cover, that I'll be covering it. But if any new scenarios are coming into your mind and you want me to run through that particular scenarios, then do let me know. Do speak in the class and make the class interactive. And it shouldn't be one-to-one communication. it shouldn't be like only I'm speaking, I'm explaining the things. You should come in between, you should ask questions, and then we'll make the class interactive. Fine. Okay. So I hope there is no question till now. So what I was mentioning, yeah. So I was saying when the address is, yeah. So in this particular order by case statement, you can see what we are trying to do. We are saying when address is equal to Kolkata, then keep it in bucket one. So this all these one, two, three, this is already sorted in ascending order, correct? So okay. So what will be the order of one, two, and three in ascending? This will be the order, right? And what will be the order in descending? It will be three, two, one. So by default, if you haven't mentioned anything, so all the records are sorted in ascending order. That is first record, that is Kolkata records at the top position, then Hyderabad records, then other records which doesn't belongs to Kolkata and Hyderabad. Now, if you just write descending after the end keyword, then you can see a huge difference. See, now what happens? So all those records which belongs to bucket 3 came at the top position. Then after that, you can see the record belonging to address Hyderabad, and then the third one, the student who belongs to Kolkata. Okay, so this you understood. I hope you understood. Now, there was another question I think I asked, like sort the data based on ascending or descending inside the bucket. Is it possible you can sort the data inside this bucket in ascending or descending order? Okay, let me explain what I'm trying to say. If the question is not clear, let me explain it. So what I am saying is for the sake of time, to save time, I'm just copying this data. So what I'm trying to say is, so the bucket 2 will have only these three records, these two records, and then as per the new queries, whatever we wrote, this will be part of bucket 3, correct? Now, now what I'm trying to say is, let's say these all are our three buckets. Now I want the records to be sorted in ascending or descending order inside these buckets. But again, there is a question based on which column? So I want this to be sorted based on either ID or either name column. So that you have to specify. So let's say when we are running the query, let's see it over here. Okay. Yeah. So when we are running our query, what we can write after the end keyword, we can mention name column. And now after name, if you're not mentioning anything, it means it is ascending by default. So yes, now the data will be changed in ascending order by default. Now let's see. Now you'll see the difference and you can understand it. Can you see the difference over here? See these all data, how it looks and how previously. So you can compare the data from the previous result set to this result set. Say this was bucket 1. Now see the bucket 1. Now these all the records are sorted in ascending order based on name column. Again, here itself, you can see the records are sorted in ascending order. So whatever keywords you can mention over here, whatever keywords you are mentioning it over here, it will be sorted in that order. If you are writing ascending, it means it is ascending. Even if you are not writing anything, it is by default ascending. If you are writing descending, it means it is descending by default. It is descending. Okay. Now the records are sorted in descending order. Now even after the end keyword, you can write descending. So now it will be reverse. Okay. I hope this is clear to you. Now, now we can switch to new topics. So this is my agenda for today's class. Now these are again I'm speaking. So these 3, 4 classes in the beginning, whatever you are attending, are like the basic syntax class or the basic keyword class. And I am trying to cover all these basic keywords at the start of the class. So if you go covering the intermediate or the advanced concept, so in that, so at that point of time, you will have idea of all these basic syntax and you can use that inside your query. Okay. So we covered nearly 10 keywords, I guess. So in the first class, we covered these keywords, the basic ones. Now in the second class, we covered these keywords. Again, the basic ones, I will say. Again, these are also the basic concepts. One or two concepts are used or has so many scenarios. We'll try to cover all the scenarios. But yeah, if you come up with any scenarios or if any new scenarios comes into your mind, you can let me know. We'll discuss in the class. Fine. Okay. What does OR says? So I think if you're a maths student, you already know what does OR means. OR means, so if there are two students, I'm just explaining. Okay. Daily language. Okay. So if there is one student with the name Sujat, and then there is another student with the name Ram, and you are saying, and your question is, there can be a number of students. It doesn't matter. I am for the sake purpose, for the example purpose, I've just took two records. Now your principal can come and say, I want those student details who belongs to either Kolkata or Hyderabad. So what your principal wants or what is his requirement? He wants to see the student details who are coming from these two cities. Okay. So this is your requirement. Now, how can you achieve this? So in our query, sorry, in our table, we already have student details. We created some of the students, right? Let's see what are these students. Yeah. So we have these many students. Now, your principal requirement is to find all those students who comes from these two cities, either Hyderabad or Kolkata. So what you will do? Previously, what we were doing. Let's say if your principal says, I want the student details who belongs to Kolkata, what you were doing? You already covered this previously, right? I'm not sure if you're remembering. If you're not, you should go and watch the recording. I recommend to watch the recording before any new class. So you're gonna watch the previous recordings and then come back in the new class. Okay. Now let's say if the principal's requirement was to find all those students who belongs to Kolkata. So we already saw that with the help of where clause or where keyword, we can identify or we can get all those student details who belongs to Kolkata. Now again, this case sensitivity and this upper lower that I'm not discussing as of now, that you guys already know, I've explained in detail. Now, so this is my basic query to select all the students who belongs to Kolkata location. With the help of this where clause, with the help of this filter clause, we can get all those students. See, so we don't have any students with the address Kolkata. Why it is so? You'll say that we have a student. Yeah, we have a student. See, so now again comes the case sensitivity. So we have records with upper or I mean in some records in uppercase, some record in lowercase, some record in camel case. So let's to filter the data, let's change it in uppercase. Now see, we are getting all those students who belongs to address Kolkata. Now, now our requirement is to fetch all those students who belongs to Kolkata or Hyderabad, right? After this keyword, after this particular keyword Kolkata, you also want to extract those students who belongs to Hyderabad. So you can write or keyword. Then again you can write upper of address. See this upper or lower, whatever I am using. This is not mandatory. We are just using because our data is in different cases, right? And to filter those records, we have to give the correct filter keyword. And to compare the data, we are using upper and lower keyword. Fine. Now, again, I can write Hyderabad. Good. Hope it is clear. Now let's execute the query. Why am I not getting these records? Because in the upper keyword, we said that, okay, so this is my mistake. Now, let me execute the query. Let's see. Let's see. Now we got all those students who belongs to either Hyderabad or Kolkata. So what I will do, I think it is clear to you, but again, let me explain it over here. Now again, from the Indian perspective, how it works, you already know. First, the from clause gets executed. Then it takes the data of this particular table in the temporary memory. Then it checks if you have any filter clause or not, because after from, where comes in order of execution. Then it will see that, okay, now we have two conditions for filtering. First address is equal to Kolkata, second address is equal to Hyderabad. And based on OR operator, it will say that, okay, a user wants to capture all those records, whether it belongs to Hyderabad or Kolkata. So it will capture all those records and then the final select clause will display all that records. Now, Now there is a requirement. Now this requirement is clear and this is a simple keyword. I hope you already know that. But yeah, even if you don't know, hope it is clear. If not, you can ask questions. Now there is a and keyword. What does this and keyword does? Do you have any idea? So this is also a simple mathematical term. Again, I will say that if you are a maths student, you already know these concepts. But yeah, if it's fine. So now my requirement is fetch all those students who belongs to Kolkata and his name is Sonu. So what is my requirement? My requirement is to fetch those students who whose name is Suhana and she belongs to Kolkata. Now, with the help of AND keyword, we can get these particular records. How? Okay. Before going on to AND, can we say that can we get this particular record with the help of OR keyword? Is it possible? Let's try it. Let's try it in our query. What I did. Okay. Name is equal to. Again, there is a variation in the name that I will not say. Okay. Suhana or I will keep up since we have data like that. Fine. Now, let's execute this. With this query, what can you see in the result? Are we only getting those records whose name is Suhana and then she belongs to Kolkata? No, right? We're getting all the records who belongs to Kolkata and his or her name is sorry, her name is Suhana or any other name. Doesn't matter. So why it is happening like that? Because we have used OR clause. And what does this OR keyword does? OR says either this or this. So any of the conditions should match. Either this should match or this should match. Correct? So since for the first record for on the name column, if you'll see, this is the record which is matching with the name Suhana. But for this particular condition, on this particular condition, if you'll see all the records are matching with this particular condition. So that's why we saw all these records in the output. But our requirement is to just fetch this particular record. Now again I am saying we have very less data because we are just mocking up data for our learning purpose, right? In the database, in the original database, you'll see millions of data and you can't go and manually see that, okay, this is my record. This should come in the result set. No, it is not like that. If you make a single mistake of upper, lower, or equal to a filter condition, anything, I'll say, then you'll see a huge difference in the result set. And by that way, you'll not get the correct result or correct data. And it's very difficult to validate that as well, that whether your selection is correct or not, or the data you gave to the client, to your manager, share with the analytics team is correct or not. So these are the simple keywords through which you can easily do all those operations. How can we do that then? So we can do that with the help of AND keyword. So what does AND does? Or is like, so if there are two things, so or is like either A or B. Okay. So if any of the condition matches, then it will give you the result. And we have two conditions, right? We are putting two conditions. Upper address is equal to Kolkata, upper address is equal to Hyderabad. So if any of the condition matches, it will give you the results. But what does AND does? If there are two things, A and B, then it says both A and B. Means both the conditions should match. Not like either any of them should match. Both the conditions should match. Okay. Now, so in the query, if you'll see, there is a very what minor difference. Just in place of or, we are writing and you'll see a difference in the result set. See, you're only getting that particular record, which was our requirement, right? Hope it is clear. This was our requirement. We are able to see the data. Agree? Yeah. Now, can we try it with other columns as well or other data as well? Yeah, of course you can try. You can play around these keywords. Let's say if you're saying I just want all those students whose ID is 3 and she belongs to Kolkata. Okay. So what we'll do? We we are saying whose ID is 3 and address is equal to Kolkata. Again, okay. Let me use this. Upper of address is equal to Kolkata. Fine. Now, before executing this query, can you tell me, do we have any records which validate this condition? So let's copy this to see in the or to compare in the Excel. Now, so this is my data. Now, what I'm trying to say is whose ID is 3. So, how many records do we have with the ID 3? We have only one record with ID 3, right? Now, again, I'm saying with ID 3 and address as Kolkata. So, these all records belongs to Kolkata. These all records belongs to Kolkata, right? Do we have any ID3? No. And for this ID3, do we have the address as Kolkata? No, right? So will it give any result? No, of course not. Yeah, that's correct. See, if you'll execute this query, you'll not see any records. Why? Because this AND keyword says both the conditions should match. But in place of AND, if you'll just change it with where, then again what will happen? You'll see a huge difference. You'll see all this data. And what does it say? That if either ID should be equal to 3 or the address should be equal to Kolkata. See, either ID should be equal to 3, so you'll see this record as well, or either address should be Kolkata. If any of the condition matches, then fetch that particular record. I hope it is clear. So OR and is clear. Now there is a topic called zero, blank, and null. People get confused. I'll say even though if you are using SQL from some years, then even though for some person this null concept is not clear, and so many scenarios can come just by introducing a null. So let me explain the difference between this zero, blank, and null. This I will say this is one of my favorite topic in SQL that I love to explain. Okay, now zero, blank, sorry, and null. Now these three keywords, zero you already know what I'm talking about. Talking about value. Okay, value, or let's say in terms of amount. Understood? So zero you already know. Now let's understand a story. Let's say customer visited a restaurant. He ordered something, right? But he didn't pay anything. Can there be a scenario like that? Yeah, of course. You'll say how he can't pay anything. How can he do like that? No, there can be scenario. Why? Maybe he has a voucher, he has a coupon which says 100% off. Or let's say it was the inauguration of the restaurant, and that particular restaurant has some offers that we are providing these products as free. Okay. So what is the total amount you'll pay? Zero, right? Now let's understand from the receptionist perspective what he has to do, what he does, or the person who manages the count of the restaurant or the billing department, what he will do. So let's say a restaurant orders something. So let's say there is a ID like customer ID. Okay. And then I will say, okay, it's not disturb it over here. Let's understand here. Let's say there is a customer. We create data once. and then the amount he paid. So what he does, he used to track this information. So let's say customer came, customer ID one for, let's say, managing on every date. So for today's date, what he will do for today's date, let's say the first customer entered into the restaurant. He ordered something. His name is Kamal, but he had some voucher or coupon code. What I can say order amount. So his order amount was 100 rupees, but the amount he paid is zero because he had some vouchers, he had some coupons, something like that. Okay. So he didn't pay anything. So what that person will do, whomever is managing the billing counter, he will just put the amount paid as zero because when they are tracking the total sales they did in the entire day, if he'll put some value, he'll not be able to get the correct data at the end of the day, right? So I'll just put the amount paid as zero. So zero is understood clearly. I didn't pay anything, so it means okay, he paid 0 rupees. Now, on the same date, let's say customers two visited the restaurant. His name is Ram. He ordered something with 200 and he also has a coupon code, but it is of 100 rupees. So he paid 100 rupees. That is understood. I hope you are understanding. Now, there is a third customer entering into the restaurant on the same day with name as Priya. Her order amount is 250, but she hasn't paid the amount yet. But the order amount has been generated. Okay, she has ordered something of, there is a other table which used to record all this information, like what food she has ordered. On this particular table, let's say she has ordered something of rupees 250, but she hasn't paid anything. So what will be the amount paid? It will be blank, right? Since she hasn't paid anything, it will be blank as of now. So we treat it as blank. Now, another customer came. She hasn't paid the amount yet. Okay, just to be clear. Now, another customer came. Her name is Sohana, and she has ordered something of 400. Now, she came with the billing. Sorry, the order amount was 400, but she said that okay, I have made the payment, but she is yet to, the payment is yet to receive the restaurant account, and her order amount was 400. Okay, it is yet to receive correct? So the payment is yet to, sorry, the restaurant is yet to receive the payment. So now what will be the amount paid at that time? Will he keep the amount paid as zero? Will he keep the amount paid as blank? Will he keep the amount paid as null? You understood. Blank, you understood. Now I'm explaining null. So what should he say? So he will keep the value as null. Why? Because let's say his shift is over. Okay. And then another person comes to manage the billing counter. Now, so he put this data as the amount paid as null. What is null? Null is like a bucket of assumption. Why do we say as bucket of assumption? Because you don't know what amount she has paid. She has paid 400 rupees or she was having some coupon, and after that coupon she has paid only 300 rupees, or she added some tip to the waiter and then she paid 450. Anything can happen. Anything can happen, right? And unless amount is received to your account, you'll not understand like how much payment she has made. Hope it is clear. So for the time being, you'll keep the amount paid as null. So it's like you're assuming what value he has uh he has paid. It's like the assumption. You can't assume and put any values, right? Because at the same time, if someone comes and then generates a report out of it, it will be the incorrect report. But again, with the null value, you can identify, okay, this something has happened with this particular record, and then we are getting the null record. So either we have not received the amount or something has happened. So it's like bucket of assumption. So you'll keep the record as it is. So this null is nothing but a bucket of assumption. Once the payment is received, you'll update the data with the correct number or correct amount. But for the time being, you have to keep the value as null because it's just like bucket of assumption. You're not sure how much payment she has made. Okay, hope it is clear. So I'll take a short break of 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay, we'll take a short break of 15 minutes and we'll come back at 11:20, right? Okay. Thanks for reminding me. Okay. Yeah. So we understood the difference between zero, null, and blank, right? So null is nothing but a bucket of assumption. So capture this null records. We'll see different types of keyword, and then we'll see multiple scenarios to cover null keyword inside the query. So for now, I've just explained the difference. Hope it is clear. Now we are moving ahead with distinct keyword. Now, distinct is nothing but unique. When anyone says that, okay, we have to find the distinct records, it means he or she wants to get the unique records. So there shouldn't be any duplicate values. Now, since we don't have any duplicate values inside our table, so I'm just inserting two duplicate records for record 12 and 13. Okay. So we already have two records for the ID 12 and for the ID 13. I'm just inserting one more records for ID 12 and ID 13. Okay. Now I'll see two records for ID 12, see, and for ID 13 as well. Correct? Now, now let's say there is a requirement and okay, let me insert one more data and we'll cover all the scenarios with ID 1. Now let's see the data, how it looks. Now this is our table. This is our data inside the table. Now, my intention is to set the unique records. So for now, we'll not capture the unique records from the table. We'll see based on a column. So this is our ID column. This is our name column. And this is our address column. Now I want to fetch all the distinct IDs from this particular table. So how can we do that? Okay, right now, let's see. Now, if you're just selecting select ID from a student, what it will give you? It will give you all the IDs, but you'll see a duplicate. This ID1 is repeated two times. Again, this ID12 is repeated two times. 13 is repeated two times. So now you'll find the duplicate records inside the table. But my intention or my requirement is to capture the unique records. Sometimes what happens in the project is you're loading the data from some source system. Okay, let's say so many sales team has done some sales, and then it has passed or it has given you that particular data inside the Excel or CSV format to you, and then you are loading inside it in the database. Now, what happens? Either the sales team has made some mistakes. For the same purpose, he captured two rows or two informations in separate columns, sorry, separate rows. So what you will get? You'll get multiple rows for the same person, or you are importing the data, you are loading the data inside the database. So you, by mistake, loaded the same data twice in the database. So what will happen? You'll see all the data. I mean, so much data, so much duplicate data inside the database, right? Now, if you just do select ID from a student or select a star from a student, so you'll see so much duplicate data. Now, to remove all these duplicate data, you want to just fetch the unique records from the table. So what you can do. So we have this distinct keyword, and with the help of distinct keyword, you can use it. So where can we use this distinct keyword? So you have to use the distinct keyword before the column name and after the select clause. Let's see. Now you'll see all the unique records. You'll not see any duplicates. Once I executed this, so you'll see a single record for 1, a single record for 12 and 13, for which you were seeing multiple records, right? Again, you can you can do this operation with any column. For now, I am showing you with the ID column, but yeah, you can do, let's say, for the name column. Okay, before using distinct, 1 second. Let's not change this particular query. Let's do it in a different query. Now, let me remove the now. Let's see how many names are there. Again, you will see that multiple Farhan exist or multiple Adnan exist in the table, right? Now, your intention is to get the distinct names. So we have these many records with distinct names. Again, you can write all the columns after using distinct. Now, okay, there is one difference. One thing I want to explain. See, we have this record, Farhan, and then we have this Farhan. Sorry. So can you say both these Farhans are same? Sorry, we have 3 records for Farhan. So these 2 records are exactly matching. ID same, name same, address same. So this is a duplicate record, you understand. So by mistake, someone has inserted 2 records for Farhan. Now this is a duplicate record you identified. Now, for this particular Farhan, can you say this is a duplicate record? No, right? Because there can be other student with the same name but different location. But again, when you're writing distinct keyword, it is not giving you this data, right? It will just show you a single Farhan in your output. But there are 2 Farhan, right? Like these 2 are duplicates, so there should be a single record you'll be getting. You should be getting from these 2 duplicates, and one more record with Farhan with I mean the address Hyderabad's Farhan, right? So there should be 2 records coming. But in the result set, if you'll see, there is a single record we are getting for the name Farhan. So is this data correct? No, right? So how can we do that? So for that, again, when you're using ID here, let's see. If you'll just see the name column, then you can tell that, okay, these all 3 are same. But when you're looking into ID column, you can say, no, no, these 2 are same, but this has a different ID. So this is not the same Farhan. Again, if you'll see the address column, you'll say that, okay, yeah, these 2 has same address, but the second for this particular Farhan has a different address. So this shouldn't be the same Farhan, right? Or this shouldn't be the duplicate record. Then how can we minimize it? So we can do that by using all the columns. When you are just using a single column, then you can say that all these records are duplicate. But when you are seeing a combination of columns, these three columns, then you can say, no, these are separate records. These two are separate records. So it works in the same way, like how you are thinking, the SQL engine works in that order only, but you have to specify the column name. Now, when you're linking all the three columns, then only you are able to identify that, okay, no, these, that Farhan and this Farhan is different. Similarly, you have to mention it over here as well. You can use distinct keyword and then not only use name column after the distinct keyword, but you can use all the columns. So what it will do, based on all these three columns, it will identify the duplicate records. And then it will not show you that duplicate records. It will just select the unique records. Correct? Let's see. Now you'll see two Farhan. Correct? See, we are getting this particular record as well. And then at the last as well, you'll see one more record. And then again, there is a third record as well, right? Oh, I think there was, yeah, there was one more record with the name Farhan. We missed this while analysis. Okay. So, and why this is coming? Because again, the ID is different, even though at the address is Kolkata, but the ID is different. So if you'll see the ID of all these three Farhan, it is not matching. So all these three Farhan can be different person. Okay, hope it is clear. Now, let's not waste much time on it. But yeah, if you have any doubt, you can let me know. We can discuss that. Now, you can play around these keywords and then come back in the next session and then let me know if you have any issues or any doubt. Now we have this count keyword. Again, what does this count does? Count is nothing but it will count the total records. And you can use this particular count for one column, for multiple column, anything you can do. Okay. And without specifying the column as well, you can use the count keyword. What it does is it just count all the records for any column. So let me show you. So let's say, and now I will show you the difference between null and irregular data or any not null data, we can say. Okay, what is not null and what is null? Null you already know. Any data which is not null, we say it as not null. Okay, not null means, let's say here we were explaining null. So this particular record is null, but all these records which is not null, these are not null, right? So we call it as not null. So here I was telling, so we'll show you the difference between null and not null here in this particular example. Now, let's say we are counting the ID, counting based on ID column, like how many records are there inside the table. Now, it will just tell you the count. See, we are getting, okay, we have 16 records for the ID column. And it is just focusing on ID column. It's not focusing on any other column. Just to be specific, okay? Because you're just mentioning ID column. It is not saying like how many records are there for name column, how many records are there for address column. Now what it is doing actually inside the engine perspective, it is going and counting all these records one by one, and it is giving the total count at the end. So if you'll see, these are nothing but 17 records. Sorry, 16 as total count. So even though as unique value, sorry, even though it has duplicate values, it is capturing that particular value as well. So it doesn't think whether it is duplicate, whether it is unique. It just captures if there is a data, it will capture that or it will count that particular value. Okay. And then it will give you the total count. Now, now you can ask, can we use distinct? Of course we can use. So inside the count function, you can use distinct over here. So what it will do? Now it will give you, so okay, how it works. So first it will give you it this distinct ID does what it does is it takes all the distinct ID. Previously we saw, right? Okay, let me write over here. So what it does is it calculates or it fetches all the distinct IDs. So we have these 13 records as distinct. Now, once this distinct ID has identified the distinct or the unique IDs, now the count function counts all these IDs and then it will give you the result. Now, let's see. See, now we are getting the count as 13. Okay. Uh, I will do one thing. I just don't want to change the query since if you when you're revising, you can go through the query and you can execute one by one and you'll see the difference. Okay, so this is the one I was explaining count of ID and then we saw distinct of ID. Okay, now, so you can use distinct inside the count function. Now, can we count or can we use count keyword for any other column? This ID was an integer column, but can we use it for a varchar, date type, or any other column? Yes, you can use it. You can use this count function for any column and it will give you the total count. Now, previously I was explaining or I was telling that even though you don't specify any column name, it will give you the count. How that is possible? Let's see. When I say you're not, you, even though you'll not give any column name here, it will give you the result. But see, if I will execute this, it will give you an error. Why? Because this count keyword accepts one argument. It is compulsory or you can say mandatory to give one argument inside the count function. So without argument, it will not. Okay, it's fine. We understood that. But I don't want to give the column name as an argument. So what value I should give? So I'll say you can give any value, any value. Usually we give it as a star. You must have seen these type of keywords. If you have gone through SQL courses or if you have gone through any SQL lectures before. But I will say you can use anything in place of star. You can use one, you can use two, three, anything, anything, or any number of values actually. 4, 5, doesn't matter actually. It just takes one argument. Now, let me execute. Now let's see. What is the total count we are getting it over here? You can see it is counting the total value and it is giving you the count as 16. Now you can ask, okay, when we were mentioning the column name, then we were understanding that, okay, it is counting these all the values and then it is giving us the total count. But how it is working in this respect? when even though we are not giving any column name, then how it is working. Now, how it works in this way or in this particular situation is when you are writing star inside the count function as argument, then it is what it does. It changes all the value of the column with the particular assigned value in the argument. So what it will do is, let me explain you. So it will change everything with a star. And if you'll say that, how can we know? No, you'll not know. You can't see this because these operations SQL engine does in the backend, in the temporary memory. Yeah. Previously, I explained how it works. First, the from clause gets executed. It takes the copy of the table in and keep it in temporary memory. And then on that particular table which it kept in the temporary memory, it will do all the operation and then it will show you the final data it will show you. Okay. So this count of a star converts all the data with a star. Now it picks any of the column. Okay. And then it will give you the count. Right. So for any column, you'll see the count is 16. Since you're not mentioning any column name, so it will by default take any column and it will just take the total count and it will show you. Hope you got it. Now, let's understand. I hope this is clear now. Okay. Before going into that, now I was telling you can keep any values. So let's see. If you'll say, can we keep it 100? Yeah, of course we can keep it. Let me execute it. You'll get the total count as 16. Again, what it does, it will converts, it will change all the data with 100 inside the table and it will just take the total count. Now you can give any value, count of 1, everything will give you the same result. So you can use any value, but it's compulsory to give one argument or one value in the count keyword. You can't execute it without passing any value. Okay, fine. Hope it is clear. Now, let me show a scenario with null. Going forward, we'll be seeing multiple scenarios for null. So what I will do, I will insert a record with address as null. We inserted a record. Let's say the total count is 17, right? So we have 17 records in the table. And then even though if we execute, select name from a student, not name, select count of name. You'll get 17, right? You can do it for ID column as well. You are getting the count as 17. That's correct. Now, what will happen if you'll do count based on address column? Let's see the magic. Now you can see we are getting count as 16 in the output. Why? Correct. In all these scenarios, when we tried to get the count with name column, with ID column, we were getting 17. But when we tried to check the count after passing address column as an argument, we are getting the count as 16, right? So here is the magic. So what does this count keyword does? So count ignores the. Okay, just give me a minute. There's someone on the door. Okay, yeah. So what does this count keyword does? Count ignores the null value. So if you'll have any null value inside a column, sorry, not count, it should be count of column name. Count of column name ignores the null value. So for this particular address column, we pass null for one record, right? Total, we were having 16 records, we inserted one record, so the total became 17, right? So for one record, we passed the value is null for the address column. So we were getting the count when we were passing name column inside the count as 17, right? Again, here got 17, but when we executed here the count of address, we got the total count as 16 because for one record we pass the value as null. So we can say that count of column name ignores the null value. But if you'll execute it, if you'll execute count of a star, count of 1 to anything, then it will give you the record as 17. Why? Because as I explained previously, what it does, it converts all the data with a star. Or if you are giving the argument as 1, so it will convert all the data with 1 and then it counts the value. So it doesn't matter if it is null for all the columns, for one column, for two column, for all the rows, it doesn't matter. So we can say that count of a star ignores the null values, right? Sorry, count of column name, sorry, it captures the null value, captures the null value. So count of column name ignores the null value and count of a star captures the null value, correct? No, you can say no, there was null value only for address column. So that's why this count of a star gave us the correct result. So, okay, if you have that confusion, let me execute it by giving all the value as null. Have we inserted the record? No, don't. What? Okay, I just want to show you the data first. Inside the table, how the data looks like. Here we have this record, the last record, 18th record, as all the value as null, and then we have 17th record as address column as null. Now, Let me try. So previously this was giving us again. Previously the was giving us 17. Now we inserted one more record, but we gave the value as null for name column as well, right? So again, what did we understood? The count of column name ignores the null value, so it will not capture that particular record. So it will give the count as 17 itself, right? See, got it? Again, count of ID will give you the record. Total count as 17. But what this count of address does, it will give you the record as 16 only. Understood? Now, but what is the total count? So we can get the total count with count of a star and see the total count is 18. So we have 18 records in the table. So we understood that count of a star captures the null value and count of column name ignores the null value. Hope that is clear. Yeah. So you'll be using count in so many places. Now, when finding the duplicate values, when capturing the null values, when doing rank, dense rank, all those advanced concept we'll discuss later on. Fine, but yeah, I was just explaining. There is so many scenarios when you'll be learning joins, operation, and all. But this is a simple use case. I explained how the data changes when we introduce null inside any table. Okay. Now, what is our next topic? We understood count. Count of column and count of star as well. We understood. We understood the difference. Now, this concat keyword. I hope if you're familiar with Excel, then you must be understanding what this concat keyword does. So concat is nothing but what it does. Okay, let's go to Excel. Let's understand. So what concat keywords does? So when you are passing multiple values inside the concat keyword, and by default, not by default, I mean it is mandatory to give at least two values in the concat function because it combines the value. Concat keywords combines the value. And how it will combine? If it gives you a single value, then it will combine with which particular value. So it is mandatory to give at least two values. And then now, I don't know if there is a keyword. I think it is there is a keyword. Yeah, there is a keyword concat in Excel. And then see if you are concatenating based on name column with the first name, and then you are giving a value like how do you want to concat, and then you are giving the second text. Then you are trying to concat. So see the how the value got concatenated, combined, right? So the same way SQL engine combines the data. So what you can do, let's see. Okay, what we can do, I will just show you all the data and then we'll concat it. So we want to concat it based on ID, name. Then what we can say, combined. This is just alias. I think we already understood alias. That is as we can give an as keyword and then okay, let's not give it for now. Understood. We'll do it in the next execution. Oh, okay. Hmm. Now let me execute and let's see the difference. This is our concatenated column. That is a combined column. So how it is combining? It is taking the ID column for each and every record and it is combining with the name column. Now you can say, no, I don't want the data like this. I want the data in this format, something like this. You can play around these things. This is not a big deal. You can change it. Okay. You'll say that, no, I want the address as well. So you can do that as well. Not an issue. You can just mention the address column. Okay. So you're getting all the information inside a single column, like ID, name, and then address. Now, I was talking about alias, right? We are, I think we already understood in the previous class, but yeah, let me, after this, see, here if you'll see in the result set, we are getting, for all these columns, we are getting the correct column name, ID, name, and address, but here we are getting the function, whatever we did over here. We want, oh, for the report purpose or for the readability purpose, we want a consistent name. So what we can give or a readable name. So we can just name combined info. Let me execute this. See the data got changed. The column name got changed to combined info, right? Combined info. So you can play around these keywords. So that's why I'm explaining these all the keywords and covering at the start of the session. So you can do all these operations. Now, even though I will not mention these columns, it will work. So that is not a big deal. You can do this. So it is not mandatory to give all the column name. You can just play around this concat keyword and then it will give you the combined info. So you can do this. Even though there are multiple more columns, you can write it and you can do that. But yeah, it is mandatory to give at least two argument in the concat. Then only it will be able to combine, right? With a single value, how it will combine. Okay, let's see. If you'll say that no, I want to pass a single value, then there is no use of concat. Why are you using concat in that case? You can directly write ID, name, anything if you don't want to concat. Understood? For every keyword, there is a purpose in SQL and it has some meanings, some operations to do. So with that particular keyword, you can do any operation with count, with concat, with as, with where, with whatever keyword we learned as of so far. And we'll be learning more keywords later on. Now, there is a group by clause. I think this is our next topic. But before going into the next topic, do you have any questions in all the topics, whatever we covered till now? Maybe from the previous class or from this class, anything you can ask. Or any new scenarios you want to showcase, you want to discuss inside the class? I'll happy to pick that discussion. Anything? If not, we'll move forward. Okay, we'll take the silence as no. Fine. And I hope it is clear. Everything is clear to you. Okay, now this group by keyword. So this group by has huge operations to do. Whenever you are writing a complex query, you'll not see any query without group by. And all the interviews questions, whatever they're asking in the interview, it has use case. You'll be using group by for that particular interview question. For sure, I'm saying that. Because whether you're calculating rank, dense rank, join operation, window function, subquery, you must be using this group by. And what does this keyword does? Okay, we are already okay. It's 12 a.m. Uh, uh, um, so, okay, we'll discuss this topic in the next class. And by that time, I I recommend to go and watch the previous recording as well, and then come up with all these topics, whatever we discuss. So I hope to revise. I will recommend you to revise all these concepts. And so later on, if you are using all the topics or all the keywords, whatever we covered inside our query, so you'll not get confused. And I don't have to repeat that. So it's better to go and watch the previous recordings, and then we'll be covering the new topics later on. Fine. We'll cover this group by. This group by is a long topic, and it will take another 20-30 minutes for me to complete because there are huge scenarios, many more scenarios to cover. Okay. Okay, we'll take this particular keyword in the next class, and then we'll share all the recordings and the class notes with you by end of the day. Fine. Thank you, everyone.